Good afternoon everyone, welcome into my craft room on Friday the 27th of September for Stampin' Chat Live. It feels like a lot more than a month since I was last here doing this, so hopefully I can remember all the buttons to press and do everything in the right order. I'm planning on making waterfall cards with you this afternoon. I hope I'm straight, let me just, there we go, fiddle with that a little bit. Yep, waterfall cards. So if you want to play along with me, you can certainly make a template as we go. All you need is some card and some glue and something to cut and score your card with. So you can be gathering that while I chat if you'd like to play along with me. So I'm going to make a template which you can absolutely do along with me. Then I'm going to make a project that's going to be pretty. And then I'm going to show you a couple of other samples. But before I do all that, I'm going to do some updates in the Stampin' Up world and a little bit about my world as well. And then when I put the camera down to the desk, I've got one of the new Scrapbooking Workshop kits to show you. I haven't made it yet, but I've got all the bits so you can see what you get in the bag. I'm just going to check on my iPad that it looks like I am actually live, because you never know. And recently there have been all kinds of problems with lives, so let's hopefully find that this is going beautifully smoothly. Let me see. Okay, so I can see myself. Let me just see if I can get some volume. Yes, there we go. So fingers crossed, all will be well. It's really windy here today, so sometimes that upsets the internet, but let's hope not. All right, so Stampin' Up news first of all. Starting on the 1st of October, which is Tuesday, there is going to be a kits sale. So if you've had your eye on any of the kits collection, then that will be a very good time to shop. We've got all kinds of things. There are kits for making cards, for making home decor, for storage, there's a travel journaling one, there are kits for children, there are kits for adults, there are kits for teens and tweens, you name it, we've got a kit for it. I have a very well stocked craft room. I'm very lucky. I have lots of space, I have lots of stuff, and I love to get everything out and play and come up with things. But sometimes I'm tired, sometimes I'm short of time, sometimes I'm just lacking in inspiration, and that's when I reach for a kit, because somebody else has done the thinking and I can just have the fun of making. So I love kits for that reason. And I always take a kit with me when I go on holiday, because everything fits in the box. There's even glue in there. And it's just so easy to grab a box and pack it, rather than having to go through my craft room, think about what I might like, think about what I'll need, think about colour schemes. No, don't need to do that. I just grab a kit. What I'm going to be shopping for next week though is Christmas presents. So yes, I'm sorry to mention the C word. It's nearly October. That won't probably be too soon to talk about Christmas. But anyway, Christmas gifts. Kits are fantastic for Christmas gifts. If you've got a crafty friend, they might really appreciate one. If you've got a friend that you think is creative but they haven't really done anything, then a kit is perfect, because everything's in the box and so are the instructions. You might have relatives that like to craft but don't have much space. Again, everything's in the box. They don't need a big craft room, they just need a little bit of table space. Children love to make things, so there's lots of ideas there for children, as I say. Or you can make the kit up yourself. The storage tin with the cards, for instance, would be a really nice one. You can have the fun of making it, and then you can wrap it up and gift it to a friend who would be delighted to receive some cards in a box to keep them in, with all the dividers for different occasions. Perfect. So lots of the kits can be used for that as well. You make them and then you gift what you make. So kit sale starting on Monday. All the kits are going to be in the sale. I would recommend that if you see something you like, you get on and order it online and get it sent to you, because some of the kits are not restocked. When they've sold out, they're gone. So it would be horrible for you to be disappointed. The Halloween house sold out really quickly in just a matter of days, and although we are going to restock it, they're not going to be back in time for Halloween. So you'll be able to buy one ready for next year, but you won't be able to get one for Halloween, and I fear the Christmas kits may be the same. So yes, order soon. The clearance rack was restocked. I think it was on Tuesday of this week, I believe. I'm losing track of the days. I'll explain why in a minute. And I've noticed already quite a lot of the things that were put on there have sold out, but there are still lots and lots of papers, ribbons, embellishments, punches, dies, lots of things there to get at really good bargain prices. So when you're ordering your kits, have a look at the clearance rack as well. In my newsletter, which I'm sending out this afternoon, I will be putting in there a link to something that you can either save on your computer or print off to use with your catalogue. And it is a pictorial index, so photos of all the patterned papers in the annual catalogue, all the punches and all the dies with all the details for them. It's something that a lot of people have felt was missing from the new revamped annual catalogue, and Stampin' Up have heard our comments and have created this kind of pictorial index for us. If you don't receive my newsletter but you'd like to, let me know and I can add you on as a subscriber. Or if you would just like a link to this particular document, drop me an email, handmade@home@hotmail.co.uk, and I will send you a link so that you can download it yourself. Okay, World Card Making Day is coming up a week tomorrow, the 5th of October. Stampin' Up are putting on a free crafting event. If you would like to sit at home in your PJs and do some crafting, then I suggest that you register for that. Again, I can send you the link, or you can find it on my website, which is sallybowman.stampinup.net. If you register, then you'll get sent a link to join in, and that same link will also work after the event. So if you can't join in live, or indeed if you'd like to watch it all again, you'll be able to do so afterwards. We're told that we're going to be sent a free gift as well if we register. I've no idea what that is. I don't know if it's going to be a PDF of projects or a physical something. I've got no idea. They haven't told us, but you will get that too. So don't forget World Card Making Day. Who doesn't love a free crafting event? And then finally, just a few bits about me. I've got a very busy October. Our daughter is getting married a week tomorrow, which is a very, very happy event. We absolutely adore her fiancé. It means, though, that next week I'm going to be doing all sorts of wedding-y things. I will be doing bits of work in between and checking my emails when I can, but in practice, I'm not going to be at my desk all next week. If you email me, you'll get my out-of-office reply. That doesn't mean I will ignore your email for a week. If I can possibly reply to it, I will. But just to warn you that it won't be normal service here next week. Excuse me. I'm taking the Monday after the wedding off because I think we will be shattered. So my day back at work will be Tuesday the 8th, Tuesday the 8th of October. So that's just to kind of warn you in advance. All right, it's time to turn the camera down to my desk. And the first thing I'm going to do is to show you the scrapbooking workshop kit I mentioned, and then we'll get on to some crafting. So, as always, it will take me just a minute to get everything in exactly the right position. Let's cover you over so that you don't get dizzy while I'm doing what I'm doing. I've remembered to reverse the camera. That's always a good start. And I will have to sort out the cables so they're out of your view, but I can't do that until I've got the camera in the right place. So let's see how we're doing with this. Okay, everything needs to be moved. Let's move my paper along. So that's a bit more in the picture. I always blue tack that to my desk just so it doesn't move. And let's see if we can get a little bit more of the grid paper and a little bit less of everything else. Okay, nearly there. I don't, could you guess, I don't have a fancy camera setup because I don't do a great deal of videoing. and that's why it always takes me a minute just to get things straight and where they should be. I still want that tilted a little bit. Those pages are there, and then I've wanted them to keep these afterwards because once I've used the kit and made the pages, the layouts are a bit like a card sketch. They're a page sketch, so I will be able to copy the layouts. I've got the measurements using stuff I've already got in my stash to make more pages, so it's much more than just instructions for a kit. So let's show you what's inside. So this is an autumnal themed kit. First of all, I've got 4 in that side. Let's do those first. The placeholders for the photos. So I've got placeholders for the 3x3 photos I'll need, the 3x4s, the 4x4 and the 4x6. And I've already told you that they do tell us how many photos in each size and orientation we're going to need. Then I have double-sided pattern paper. There are 2 sheets of this. This is seriously cute. It's got ribbon animals on it. And then on the back we've got trees. So 2 sheets of that. 2 sheets of this one. There's a check, handle and check on one side and another tree design on the other. And 2 sheets of this one, which again is a little kind of I'll go around that way, that's better. Sketched trees on one side and flowers on the other. And these have got kind of distressed finishes as well. So we've got beautiful autumnal colours here. Then we've got some single-sided paper. There are 2 sheets of this tree bark one. 1 sheet stripes. 1 sheet of this pattern. So lots of paper there. Then I've got cards. Now this is the new 2-tone cardstock, which again is in the scrapbooking brochure, but you can use this for things other than scrapbooking. So this is Old Olive, but on the back it's a lighter shade of Old Olive. So you're getting 2 colours in one. And if you tear it or distress it, it has a white core, so you can get a white edge on the coloured card. This is a little bit lighter weight than our standard coloured card. If we're layering it up, you're not going to have anything that's going to end up as too heavy. So we've got 2 of those in Old Olive, a I've got 2 in pepper pink, and there's the lighter colour, and 2 in crushed curry, again with the lighter side. And then finally for the card, I've got 2 sheets of white. Now this is a new white, and I can't remember what it's called. I want to call it daisy white, but I have a feeling that's wrong. Willow white. It's willow white, and it's actually a different white to our basic white. If I pull out a sheet of that and show you, let's see if I can reach it. I've got it in a box. I'm going to need 2 hands. Let's reach. There we are. So this one is willow white, and this one is basic white. I don't know on your monitor how clearly that's going to show up. Hopefully you can see. Okay, I've just got some comments come flooding in. So for those of you that couldn't hear me properly, my apologies. It was buffering my end. It's looking like that's settled down now. So let's hope we don't get any more of that. Yeah, Sandy's saying that is a different white. Yeah, I mean, this is white, but this is a whiter white somehow. So there we go. That's willow white. This is basic white. So let's put that to the side, and then we've got lots of die cut pieces. So we've got this one here. I'm not going to try and lift these up, I don't think, because they're probably all going to start falling apart. But we've got banners, we've got birds and trees and leaves, and then this piece here, this circle, is going to create a kind of a spiral cutout. I don't know if you can see just a little bit there without me taking it all apart. Then another page of die cut pieces, lots of banners and arrows. And then these pieces are going to be a kind of a, I don't quite know how to describe them, but these strips will pop out, so they're big. That one looks like it's probably 6 by 6, no, 7 inches square, and then a rectangle here. These are stickers, so they're self-adhesive, and we've got some titles and journaling pieces there. We've got some labels, we've got Autumn Bliss, Grateful for this moment together. What else we got? Good times here, unforgettable, change can be beautiful, days to remember. So lots and lots of words and phrases, and then some border pieces here. These are 12 inches long. And then finally, I'm very excited about these. These are also die cut, and I don't think they are wood, but they look like wood. They're a wood look. I don't know how well the camera will pick that up. It's got a grain in it, and I'm pretty sure you'll be able to stamp on these or ink them to change the colours. So there's trees and leaves, then we've got autumn days, grateful, give thanks, best life. We've got hearts, toadstools. It's really, really cute. So that's lovely. So I'm very excited indeed about popping all these pieces out, choosing some of my favourite photos, and getting everything put together to do some scrapbooking. I'm not a scrapbooking expert. I have done quite a lot of 12 by 12 scrapbooking, but not for a long time. But there's always something new to learn, isn't there? So that's going to be a lot of fun, and it's so nice to have a whole pack of everything all together. If you didn't want the actual workshop kit, some of the papers and bits and pieces are available as individual items, and once again the scrapbooking brochure has got everything listed in it. So if you would like a link to that, just let me know. I'm hoping I can slide this in here to keep it all together, so I can move on to waterfall cards and I'm not going to lose everything. Okay, I'm getting messages saying the sound is okay now. Thank goodness for that. Right, so waterfall cards. What's a waterfall card? Well, a waterfall card is an interactive card. This is one I made a long time ago. which will show you what I'll show you what it does. So they have a little pull cord here, and as you pull it, the card moves. Then you can close it up again, and I'll just open that again. So you can have all sorts of little secret messages. You can have one on the pull, you can have one in here, you can have several in there actually. You could have things on all of these. I've seen versions of this where each one of these has got part of a message, and as you pull it, the message reveals itself. And then it opens like a standard card, so you can stand it up and display it. But you do have this lovely interactive moving mechanism on it, which is an awful lot easier than many moving cards. I have been defeated by some moving cards in the past where I just cannot get them to work, but this one is really straightforward once you understand what you're doing. I find, and I'm generalizing of course, but I find that men in particular love these cards. They really love the way it moves, and then they want to hold it on its side and have a look and see if they can work out how you made it, and they're always really popular. So I'm going to show you first of all how to make yourself a template for this, so you've got one that you can refer to again and again. Then we'll make a pretty version, and then I've got another completed version to show you, plus a bigger version. So first of all, bits and pieces of cards. So let me put that there. I'm hoping you'll be able to read that. So that is the size of all the pieces I've got here. Now I've picked lots of different colours here just for clarity, so that you can distinguish one piece from another. I wouldn't probably make a card using all these colours together. This looks like it may be a little bit small on screen, so I will read it out to you. I'm just going to drink some of my tea. Okay, so the card base is 8 inches by 5 3/4 of an inch, and it's scored landscape at 4 inches, so it's just in half. So that's a standard C6 card base, and then I've got a standard card layer to go on top, which is 5 3/4 of an inch by 3 3/4 of an inch. And if you want, you can of course add another layer onto that. I'd just go down another 1/4 of an inch. So if you added a second layer, that would measure 5 1/2 by 3 that's wrong. 5 1/2 by 3 3/4. I'm looking at this. There's something wrong on this. 5 3/4 by 3 1/2. That should be 3 1/2. So my apologies. I hope you haven't cut something. 3 1/2. There we go. So this one, 5 3/4. No, okay. I did say, didn't I? I hadn't done one of these for a long time. Let's start again. 5 1/2 by 3 3/4. I know these measurements in my sleep because I use them every day, so you would think that I could write them down right. There we go. Okay, 5 1/2 by 3 3/4. Either way, it's a 1/4 of an inch shorter and narrower. So if you want to do a second layer on here, that would be a 1/4 of an inch on each measurement smaller, 5 1/4 by 3 1/2. Right, I think I've got that straight now. Then we're going to have a mechanism. Now, for this one, I've actually scored this mechanism, but for the card I'm going to make, I haven't, so I'll score that with you. So this measures 9 inches by 2 inches, and then I've scored it landscape. Let's turn it around that way so the scores are in the right place, at 2 inches, 2 3/4, 3 1/2, and 4 1/4. So it's scored at 3/4 of an inch intervals, just part the way along. If I hold that up, I don't know if the light will allow you to see. I'm waiting for my thing to catch up just about, yeah. So our first score line is here, and then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 score lines, and then a long piece with no scoring in it. So that's the mechanism, and then we have a second piece which holds the mechanism in place, which is just a card strip, which is 3 3/4 of an inch by 3/4 of an inch. If you put an extra layer on here, then I would cut this strip down a little bit to make so that it's the same width as your top layer, but you don't have to. You can leave it bigger if you want. On this one I used that second layer here, the red one is the second layer, and so I've cut this strip the same width as the red. So instead of being the size of the black layer being the same as this green one, I've cut it down. And then we want the squares that are going to flip round. So I've made mine 2-layer squares. So I have 4 pieces which are 2 inches square and 4 pieces which are 1 3/4 inch square. And then you want some ribbon or cord about 7 inches. That's not set in stone. You may find that you've got a little offcut that's a little bit more than that or a little bit less, in which case use what you've got. So those are those pieces. So this is everything we need. So let's start off by gluing some of the layers together. I can glue my base layer on, and if you're using 2 layers here, then you can glue them both on. So just as if you were making a non-moving card. I don't think that's awfully straight, but it will do. And then I'm going to take the squares and I'm going to glue these layers together. Now, my white squares here I would either stamp or I would cut them instead from patterned paper. But for the purposes of this, we're just making something very plain, because the idea is to make a template that is going to be easy to refer back to. And usually when I make a template, I actually write on it all the measurements. So on either the back or the inside, I would write the measurements of all the pieces. So I've got all the information there to hand, and then I store the templates. You may or may not know that I teach a monthly Fancy Folds class, and I have done for a long time. And I'm trying to remember what we're up to, 102 different ones now I think we've done. And I've got templates for all of them, so I often go back when I want to make a fancy card and refer to the templates, and it just makes life so much easier to have something to actually look at rather than to just read some measurements. And I don't always want to have to go online and find a video I've made of them to refer to. Sometimes I just want to get something at my desk quickly. So those are all those pieces scored. So the next thing we're going to do is sort out our mechanism. So I've got all these score lines here. I'm going to mountain fold all those score lines. So a mountain fold simply means that I form it into a little mountain. And I'm always use my bone folder when I fold card or paper, because it gives me a crisp fold and it means that that card is going to do what I want it to do. So I've got my 4 score lines here which I've just mountain folded, and then I've got this longer section here. Now this longer section is going, this end is going to be this end here, the one that the ribbon is going to go on. So I'm just going to shape that a little bit. If you have a tag topper punch, you can use that, or you can just cut a tag shape into it. So I've just cut the corner off there. I've got this piece which I'm just going to hold on the other end and use to make sure that I cut a piece that's a similar size and at a similar angle on the other side, to just simply make a tag end. And I don't know where my bin has gone. It got lost under my desk. Let me find that. Okay, and then I'm just going to punch a hole in there. I'm going to mark where the center is just with a pencil, and then punch a hole so that my ribbon can go through. Like that. Let's find a scrap piece of ribbon. I've got all my ends of ribbon in here. There we go, that one will do. So this is what I mean about using a scrap. This piece isn't 7 inches long, but it will certainly work. So let's pop that ribbon through. So I've just folded the ribbon in half, pushed the loop through the hole, and now I'm pulling the ends through. Just like that. I think I was doing that off camera. Sorry, that's not very helpful, is it? And let me just trim these so they're not going to fray. Okay, so that is my mechanism prepared. So what I'm going to do now is to add the pieces to the mechanism. So I'm going to fold my mechanism in half. I've got the scored ones on top, and then I've got that long section with the ribbon at the bottom. And let's put some numbers on these. Sometimes it doesn't matter which order you want to see them in. Sometimes it does. Certainly if you're going to put words on these, the order of them will matter. And you're going to put these on in reverse order. So you're going to put the last square you want to be seen onto the mechanism first. So number 1 is going to be last. So let's stack them up like this. So I've put them in backwards number order, 4, 3, 2, 1. And while I think about it, when you're creating these little squares, whatever you put on them, don't make them two-dimensional. You can get away with a little something. You can probably get away with a little gem, but don't put lots of layers with dimensions and things. Otherwise, you'll find they will just jam and the mechanism won't work properly. So keep them fairly flat. All right, so I'm going to take my piece number 4 and I'm going to glue it onto this section at the bottom of my mechanism. And if I lift it up, hopefully you can see that I've got a square here. So that's the bottom and that's my first score line, and this square is going to fit right the way over that square. And I'm putting it up against the score line but not over the score line. So this will still fold nicely. And then I'm going to take piece number 2 and I'm going to glue it to this section here, which is between the bottom score line and the next score line up. So I don't want to put glue all over the back of this, otherwise I will be gluing it onto the piece number 4 and then nothing's going to move. So I'm going to put the glue on my mechanism just to make sure it only gets glue in the place where I want it. And then I'm going to pop piece number 3 there. And then I'm going to repeat it with piece number 2. So it's going to go between the score lines. So I'm just going to put glue between those score lines and glue piece number 2 there. So piece number 2 is glued just like 3 was. It's glued at the top, but the bottom is loose, which I'll give that a minute to grab and then I'll show you. So that is loose at the bottom. And then the final piece is going to go between those last 2 score lines there. Again, I'm going just up to the score line, but I'm not crossing it. So that's the 4 pieces. One, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so now all I need to do is to put this together. So we've got this one piece of card left, and this is what holds the mechanism in place on the card. And you can either lay your waterfall section on the card and then glue this in place, or you can glue this in place and then slide this behind. I tend to glue the strip and then slide the mechanism behind. So where do you want it? Well, you can do it by eye. I lay my mechanism on my card front, get it even right to left, make sure I'm happy with it top to bottom, and then I have a look and see where the strip needs to go. And it needs to go above the bottom by about, what's that, about an inch, inch and a half to 2 inches from the bottom of the mechanism. Something like that. And I'm just going to make a little pencil mark there just to show me where the top of the strip needs to go. And I want to glue this at the sides but leave the middle section unglued because my mechanism is going to slide behind. So again, I don't measure this, but I suppose that's about 1/2 inch or so of glue either side. And then I'll just lay that down against that pencil mark. Okay, so I'm definitely going to leave that a moment to really grab on that glue before I start stretching the card to pop the mechanism behind. So I think that's my cue to drink some tea. All right, so next I'm going to slide the mechanism behind. Just rub out that pencil. So I'm sliding this so this is in position roughly where I want it. Then I'm going to fold it on the score line that's closest to the center like that. So that's how it's all going to sit. And then there's one final step, which is to glue the bottom of my final square. And actually I forgot to say that with the positioning, didn't I? The bottom of this square, square 4, is going to glue onto the mechanism like that. So actually I have got this a little bit high. What should we do? Should we pull that off? Should we see if we can get away with that? I was forgetting that crucial strip of the positioning. So this is a template, it doesn't matter, and actually I quite often leave my mistakes on my templates because when I come back to this and think, oh, you made a mess of that, Sally, I will remember why, and that is because I forgot that I have got one more step, which is to glue this on. Right, so let's pop that back where I want it, and I'm actually going to put the bottom of this strip in line with the bottom of the bottom square, which is about there. So it's a little bit lower than I had it. There we are, that will work nicely. So let's glue that down again. Is anybody gluing along with me? Okay, Sandy's saying, how high did I put it again? All right, so if you lay your mechanism on, Sandy, note where the bottom of this square 4 is, okay? And that's the level that you're going to put your strip across. So the bottom of this strip is going to sit level with the bottom of square number 4, the back square, this one here. So let me lift that up and try and show you. Okay. Because we're now going to slide this back underneath. And that hasn't glued yet. It needs a little bit longer to grab. But we're going to glue the bottom of that square number 4 into the center of that strip. And again, I tend to just put a little pencil mark either side just to make sure I get it in the middle. And then what I'm going to do is, rather than gluing the bottom of that square, because I might put my glue a little bit too far up, I'm going to put some glue within those pencil marks. And if I lift that up and show you, hopefully you can see my pencil mark there and my glue is inside that, the same on that side. That way, when I glue my square down, I know that I'm not going to have glue on the strip outside. Okay, so I'm hoping that's clear, and that me making that error, forgetting I'd got something else to glue, means that you haven't done that too. All right, so now let's make another one, exactly the same process, exactly the same measurements, but we'll make it pretty this time. So the first thing I'm going to do is to colour my ribbon. Now this is basic beige ribbon, but I actually want some navy ribbon. So I'm going to use my Stampin' Right marker in dark Night of Navy, and I'm going to colour my ribbon. So I'm using the brush tip on its side, because if I use it on its end it will destroy it. Although it has to be said that my brush tip markers do suffer a little by being used in classes where people are perhaps a little bit over enthusiastic with them. I do tend to collect cream and beige and ivory and white ribbons because they can all be custom coloured like this, so that they will go with whatever project I'm doing. And usually the ink soaks through, but it might need a little bit of a helping hand. Yeah, it does. So let's just make sure both sides are navy, and then this will dry very quickly because this is alcohol ink. You can do it with your Stampin' Right markers, although be careful that you don't then get the ribbon damp, because those are water-based ink markers. The ink will run if it gets damp, which is why I really like the stamping blends for this. Not only do they dry quickly, but if anything happens, the ink isn't going to transfer. There we are. So that's my ribbon. Alright, so here are our pieces. So exactly the same measurements again. My card base is 8.5 inches by 5 3/4. My patterned paper, let's give you the correct measurement this time, is 5.5 by 3 3/4 of an inch. And this is from the Regal Winter paper. This is really pretty. The paper pack is all jewel tones. They are just absolutely gorgeous. So I'm going to glue that on the front. For this one I have got an insert. My insert is exactly the same size as the pattern paper, 5.5 inches by 3 3/4. So we'll sort that one out in a minute. Then I've got Night of Navy card for my mechanism, which I'll score in a moment. And then for my little squares, I have 4 pieces of Night of Navy card and 4 pieces of some more paper from the packs. And then, just to save a little bit of time, I used the Regal Flora stamps to stamp, and then the dies to die cut 3 little floral pieces here. And let me just show you those now. So these stamps coordinate with the Regal Winter paper. So the images on here are the same ones that you will see on the paper. And then we've got some sentiments too. And there are dies that cut out those images, plus a kind of a floral piece here and a label as well. So they're really nice. They're in the Autumn and Winter mini catalogue. And then I'm supposed to have a white circle. Where has that gone, I wonder? Not in the bag. Okay, never mind. It might turn up, it might not. All right, so I'm going to glue my squares of patterned paper onto my squares of card. Yeah, I definitely had a little circle that I had die cut and stamped in readiness. I wonder where that went. Gosh, it's getting darker and darker here. Hopefully you can still see what I'm doing. I think it's going to tip with rain in a minute. I don't know if you've all had the same weather we've had the last week, which has been a mixture of lovely weather for a very short time and then torrential rain. Okay, so I'm just looking at the paper. The paper is an all over design. It doesn't really matter which way around it goes. And let me have a look at these. I have also, if you can see, put a little bit of Wink of Stella on these, just for a little bit of sparkle. Okay, that one definitely needs my sentiment. But let's glue these on. I got glue on my fingers. That doesn't want to stay down. It wants to wants to come with my fingers. Let's see if I can rub that off. Yeah, so that's my 3 decorative squares. I'm just, my box of scraps is within arm's reach. I'm just going to see if I've got a little circle already cut in there so I can stamp one again, which I definitely had but has gone walkabout. Bear with me, I'm just going to have to detach myself from the microphone. And miraculously, this was right on the top of my box of bits, which I always keep when I have extra pieces. And look at this, this is perfect. This says just for you, and it's actually already stamped in Night of Navy ink, so I couldn't have done much better than that. And it's the same stamp I was going to use in any case, which is in Unbounded Love, and it's this one here, just for you. So that was great. All right, so I can stick that onto my final square, and then we can make up the mechanism. There we are. So that's my 4 pieces. So that is definitely my final one. So that'll be the one I stick on first. And then I think maybe that one and that one and that one. So that's got those in order. Now I'm going to bring in my trimmer so that I can score the mechanism. And my mechanism is scored landscape at, first of all, 2 inches. Score don't cut. 2 3/4 inch. 3.5 inches. And 4 1/4 inches. And then I'm going to mount and fold on all those score lines. Yeah, so that's my mechanism. This is my long section, which I'm going to just pop tag ends on. If you've got a banner punch, you could do that as well. But I do like doing something where I can attach a piece of ribbon, because it's much easier to get hold of if you've got ribbon or cord on there. So again, let's find the center of this. I always use my grid paper for finding centers of things. It just makes it so easy, because I've got this center cross in the middle. And if you didn't know, grid paper is in the catalogue Not everybody realises that it's not just demonstrators who can buy it. Anybody can have grid paper for their crafting. Alright, so here's our ribbon. Let's fold that in half, and it's just starting to rain. I thought it was going to. And pop that through. Pop the ends through the loop. And then just tighten that up. I'm being gentle so I don't tear the card. There we are. And again, I'll